welcome to the Marley Bird YouTube channel, brought to you by Red Heart Yarns. In this video, I will show you how to make this super simple crescent shawl. This is one of those patterns that I saw published on the redheart.com website that got me super excited. I could not wait to grab some brand new yarn by Red Heart called Hopscotch and show you how to make this super simple shawl. Now, I know a lot of knitters out there love to make shawls because they're fun just to wrap around your neck, wrap around your shoulders, or just throw in your bag so that way you have something for layering, right? Whether it's the summer or the fall, because we all know the air conditioning can get super cold, right? Well, the crescent shawl is something slightly different than a basic triangle shawl, and it could be a little bit confusing to some of you, but honestly, I feel like once you get down the sequence of how the increases are worked, you'll have no problem. Plus, with this brand new yarn, let the yarn do all the work for you. There's no color changes. Let the yarn do the color changes for you. It's a really great variegated yarn that comes in super fashionable and trendy colors. Let's go ahead and take a look at what you need for this pattern. As I mentioned, this is a free pattern available on redheart.com. A link to the pattern and all of the materials can be found in the video description box right down there below. Along with the pattern, you are also going to need 2 balls of Hopscotch, a brand new yarn by Red Heart. You can get any colorway you want. This one is actually called Somersault. Pretty cool, right? Along with that, you will need a pair of size 8 circular knitting needles. Now, you'll want circular knitting needles because as the width of the shawl grows, you want the space of the knitting needles to be able to accommodate that. So you could start off with smaller knitting needles like 24-inch and then go up to a 36-inch and then even larger if you want as the shawl grows. It's totally up to you. Along with the needles, I'm going to suggest you get a bent tip tapestry needle because I love those, a good pair of scissors, and then I am going to throw in there, you should really get some stitch markers. I know they're optional on the pattern, but I highly recommend some stitch markers. Go ahead, grab your pattern and your materials, and I'm going to get you through row 5, because once you know that, you've got the rest of the pattern. It's cake. You start off this pattern by casting on 5 stitches, and I am going to go ahead and just make a simple slip knot and use the long tail cast on for my 5 stitches. If you want detailed instructions for how to do the slip knot or the long tail cast on, go ahead and visit my beginner knitting videos right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. You can see I'm simply just placing 5 stitches on my needle. Do you have to use the long tail cast on? No, but I like the way it gives a little bit of stretch to those stitches. Once you get 5 stitches on, it's time to go ahead and begin. So you will turn your work and you will knit this first row. So I go ahead and turn and I am going to knit. Now I am going to knit with the yarn in my left hand, but it does not make a difference. You will simply knit as normal whether you hold the yarn in your left hand or your right hand. After you knit those stitches, you go ahead and turn your work, and this will be the right side of my work. At this point, if you wanted to place a stitch marker right there to represent the right side, you totally could. I'm not going to right now, but that's something you can choose to do. Once you've done this, we need to begin to get our increases started off. So we begin with a knit 1, and then we will work a knit front and back. So you will go into that stitch as if to knit, and knit it. So yarn over, come out, but don't let that stitch on the left-hand needle jump off yet. You will extend your right-hand needle, swivel that needle around, and go into the back leg of that same stitch. Yarn over, and then come out that stitch and off. So what you've done here is you've created 2 stitches where there was 1. And one of them looks like it has a little purl bump right there, and that's perfectly normal and natural. Once you've done that, that's the KFB. It's called the knit front and back. You will then go ahead and knit 1, and we will do a KFB again. Now I will go ahead and hold my yarn in my opposite hand so you can see how this works. You go into the stitch, yarn over and come out the stitch, but don't let it jump off. Extend the right hand needle, swivel it around, go into the back leg of that same stitch, yarn over, come out of that stitch and off. So I have 2 stitches where there was only 1. Now I will go ahead and I will knit that last stitch. I now should have 7 stitches on my needle. Once I have that, I go ahead and turn my work. We're on row 3, and I will knit 2. So I will knit 1 and knit 2, and I will yarn over. So my yarn is in back. I bring it up between my needles and come back to the back over top of my right hand needle. I like to hold that yarn over in place, so you'll notice I put my thumb on the yarn over. By simply placing my thumb on that yarn over, I just make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Now I can go ahead and work in pattern, which says to knit 3. So I knit 1, 2, and 3. After you knit 3, you do a yarn over again. So my yarn's in back. I come up between my needles, come over top of my right hand needle, and then I like to hold it. Then I will go ahead and I will knit 2 stitches. So knit 1 and knit 2. Those 2 yarn overs are increases. So as I count my stitches on my needle, I now have 9 stitches. That completes row 3, so now we begin row 4. And row 4 and row 5 are the repeat for this pattern. So as we learn row 4 and row 5, that's all you need to know for this pattern. Are you ready? I go ahead and I turn my work, and I will start off by knitting 3. So I'm going to knit 1, 2, and 3. Now those 3 stitches are the garter stitch side of the crescent shawl. So this is where I would want to use my stitch marker. I like placing a stitch marker wherever it is a signal to myself saying, hey, something's changing here. So I know that these first 3 stitches are going to be knit on every single row. The same thing can be said about the final 3 stitches. So we will place a marker down there as well. Now that I've placed my marker, we move on into the pattern, and the pattern starts off with another increase, but this one is a knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, all in one stitch. Here we go. You ready? So what you will do is you will go into the stitch and you will knit 1. Okay? Now our yarn is in back. We bring it up between our needles, over top of our right hand needle and back to the back. And hold that stitch there. Okay? And now you go ahead and you can knit into that same stitch once again. I'm not even knitting through the back. I'm knitting just through that same stitch once again. What that has done is it's created a knit 1, a yarn over, and a knit 1, creating this hole which will give us a nice eyelet edge to the side of our shawl. Once you've done that knit 1, yarn over, knit 1 into the same stitch, you will carry on and you will do knit stitches to the last 4 stitches. So you knit 1 and we're to the last 4 stitches. We do that knit 1, yarn over, knit 1 again. So I will go into the stitch, knit 1, come out, yarn over my right hand needle, and then knit 1 again. I know it seems clumsy, but trust me, it works. So we have done that. This is where I will place another marker. So I'm placing my marker there because that's letting me know that these last 3 stitches are knits, because I'm going to go ahead and knit those last 3 stitches. Now, you don't have to use markers if you don't want to, but I really like using markers, and that's why I've placed them in there. So now you know how to do row 4. Let's look at row 5. Row 5 is really simple. Turn your work, and I like to put my stitch markers on the same side as the fabric as I'm looking at. And we begin with our knit 3, which we already know because our stitch markers are right there. So 1, 2, and 3. I simply slip my stitch marker. And now I will yarn over. So my yarn is in back. I bring my yarn forward, back over top of my right hand needle, and hang on to that there. Now I will go ahead and knit to the last 3 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'm to my last 3 stitches, and what I want to do is I want to yarn over again. So my yarn's in back. I bring it up over top of my right hand needle, slip my marker, and go ahead and knit my last 3 stitches. Pretty easy, right? Now I turn my work, and this is all you have to do for the whole rest of the pattern. The rest of the pattern has you repeat rows 4 and 5, okay? So you're going to repeat rows 4 and 5 until you get 285 stitches. So let's go ahead and do row 4 once again. I'm going to hold my yarn in my opposite hand this time, and I will start off with my knit 3 because that's how we will start off every single row. 1, 2, 3. Slip my marker. Now I will do my knit, yarn over, knit. So I go into the stitch, I knit, I yarn over, and I knit it again. Now I will go ahead and I will knit to the last 4 stitches. Or if you're using your stitch markers, think of it as you're knitting to the 1 stitch before your marker. So here I am, 1 stitch before my marker, which is my yarn over. And I will do my knit, yarn over, and knit. Now notice I held that yarn over in place so it didn't go anywhere, and off. Slip my marker, and I knit. Pretty easy, right? What you're going to notice here is you are increasing at the edge every row, right? Pretty easy. We're increasing at the edge every row. 1, 2, 3. Slip our marker. So we are on row 5, remember? So we yarn over, and you go ahead and you will knit to the last 3 stitches, or we'll knit over to the marker, the second marker if you're using it. It's all garter stitch, really easy, which makes this pattern great because you let the yarn do all the work for you as far as the visual interest. I'm over to my marker. I yarn over again, slip my marker, and I knit 3. Turn my work, and I would just go ahead and continue on. Pretty simple, right? I mean, there's nothing to this, you guys. It's so simple. And the yarn, yes, I'm using a really subtle brown, gray, and cream kind of tones. But if you decided to use the colorway called Kickball that's in the pattern, you can see that the colors really begin to work and meld together, and it's really beautiful. So you continue on working this stitch pattern, so you repeat rows 4 and 5 until you get to 285 stitches. At that time, you will begin to do some simple eyelets along the final edge of the shawl, and then you will bind off loosely. Now, because I know you know how to do the eyelets because I just showed you how to do all the stitches, I want to show you how to do the loose bind off now, so that way you have no problem with that. For the stretchy bind off, the instructions say to go ahead and knit the first stitch. Now you will knit the next stitch, slip the 2 stitches from the right hand needle back over to the left hand needle, okay? And then you will knit those 2 stitches together through the back leg. So you have 1 stitch bound off. You will knit 1 more stitch. And then what you do is you put these 2 stitches back over on the left hand needle and you stick your right hand needle through the back leg. What you're going to notice here is that it becomes a very seamless motion, meaning when you have to slip the stitches over, you're really not going to have to slip them. Watch. So I have my 2 stitches over here on my right hand needle. I simply take my left hand needle, stick it into the front legs, and I'm already in position. You see that? So it's not like it's an extra step of move the stitches over and then knit them together. It's already in position. So rather than doing a typical bind off where you have this back stitch jump up and over that one, we're actually knitting these 2 together through the back leg. So I simply stick my left hand needle into the front leg of those 2 stitches and then knit them together. It's really that simple. I knit the stitch, stick my left hand needle in front leg of those 2 stitches, and then knit them together. What this does is it creates a nice and stretchy bind off, which is perfect for your shawl because the last thing you want is for your shawl to be really cinched up and tight along the final edge. So it's important you do the stretchy bind off. Now you know everything you need to know to make this incredible shawl. Hopefully you will run out, grab yourself some of this really great hopscotch yarn in some awesome colors. I love that color kickball. I think it's beautiful, and I know you will too. If you go ahead and make this shawl, please share with me over on the Marley Bird Facebook page. I'll put a link to it right there at the bottom of the screen. Other than that, hit subscribe, smash that like button, and I'll catch you back here again soon. Bye everybody. Hey, don't leave yet. I'm sure there are other videos here that you will enjoy. Go ahead and check out some of my knitting and crochet videos, as well as some of my crafting videos. You will love them, I promise. If you hit subscribe, you'll be up to date whenever there's a new video released. And as my kids say, don't forget to smash that like button. Bye.